Medvedev recently dropped a nuclear hint on Iran and how Ukraine is getting ready for produce millions of drones. That's in our episode. Let's unpack the details and put you in focus on these hot events. This is UATV. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and socials for the latest news and unique stories. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev is known for using nuclear threats as a way to pressure others. His recent comments about supplying nuclear weapons to Iran sparked a strong reaction from former US President Donald Trump. More details ahead.
Deputy Chairman of Russia's Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, commented on social media about Washington's airstrikes on Iran. He claimed they allegedly failed to achieve their goals, but now, I quote, several countries are ready to directly supply Iran with nuclear warheads, and President Trump has started a new war for the U.S. The reaction was swift. Donald Trump urged Putin's loyal ally not to carelessly throw around talk of nuclear weapons.
Did I hear former President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word, nuclear, and saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that, or is it just a figment of my imagination? If he did say that, and if confirmed, please let me know immediately. The N-word should not be treated so casually. Donald Trump, President of the United States, on Truth Social.
Nuclear blackmail is Medvedev's favorite tactic. He has repeatedly threatened Kyiv and the West with nuclear strikes on social media. But after Trump's message, he changed his tone and tried to justify himself, saying he didn't mean Russia among the several countries. Moscow allegedly has no intention of transferring nuclear weapons to Tehran, as it is a signatory to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities have put the Kremlin in a very difficult position, writes The Telegraph. Moscow did not expect such decisive actions from Washington, believing Trump's America First policy would prevent him from engaging in overseas military conflicts. Moreover, the Kremlin hoped Russia's concessions on Iran could lead to U.S. concessions on Ukraine.
One Russian diplomat told The Telegraph, "Some officials believe that if we stay flexible and avoid pressing the Iran issue too hard, we might get some relief from the United States on the Ukraine front." Another diplomat said, "Our relationship with the U.S. is already complicated because of Ukraine, and there is already some frustration and irritation from Trump about our stance," from a publication by The Telegraph.
The Iranian crisis cannot improve U.S.-Russia relations, believes Ukraine's president. The United States openly and consistently supports Israel. Moscow, however, sides with its ally, Tehran. The Kremlin has not gone beyond verbal support and consultations only out of fear of spoiling relations with Washington.
I truly do not know what relationship Trump has with Putin. I am not aware. I think what I know, you know, and the media knows. There are various signals about that, and I'm confident that President Trump understands that Ukrainians are allies to America, and the real existential enemy of America is Russia. They will never be friends. They may be short-term partners, but they will never be friends.
The reluctance to damage relations with Washington imposes serious restrictions on Moscow-Tehran cooperation, note the Institute for the Study of War. The Kremlin called U.S. actions in Iran an unjustified and unprovoked escalation of hostilities in the Middle East. Putin assured Iran's foreign minister that Russia is making efforts to help the Iranian people. Tehran still hasn't received what it wanted, claimed Reuters sources.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was due to deliver a letter from Khamenei to Putin, seeking more help from Russia. Iran has not been impressed with Russia's support so far, Iranian sources told Reuters, and the country wants Putin to do more to back it against Israel and the United States, from a publication by Reuters.
The Kremlin even proposed mediation in talks with Iran. But the U.S. president, it seems, did not appreciate the initiative.
And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later.
Moscow has long been Tehran's partner in developing its nuclear program. Russia's Rosatom still helps maintain Iran's first nuclear power plant, Bushehr. In January 2025, Moscow and Tehran signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement. Among other things, the parties agreed to exchange nuclear technologies. A month later, negotiations began on the joint construction of another nuclear power plant. In exchange for assistance with its nuclear program and sanctions evasion, Iran supplies Russia with ballistic missiles. It was Tehran that shared drone production technology with Moscow, which the Russian army regularly uses to attack peaceful Ukrainian cities. Reported by Andriy Dmitrenko, UATV News.
Could Ukraine soon be producing millions of drones yearly? President Zelenskyy says yes, if funding rises. With new support from Europe, Ukraine's drone race is speeding up. What's next in this high-tech battle?
Up to 8 million drones per year. That's how many Ukraine could potentially produce, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said at the Defence Industries Forum in the Netherlands. However, achieving such a scale will require significantly more funding.
Our defense production potential has surpassed 35 billion US dollars. This includes nearly 1,000 types of products, from artillery and traditional armored vehicles to advanced drones of all types and missiles. But around 40% of this potential lacks proper funding. It's true. That's a problem.
On June 24th, the Netherlands announced a new military aid package, which includes 100 radars for detecting enemy drones. These systems are expected to be delivered by the end of 2025. In addition, the Netherlands has invested another 80 million euros in drone procurement as part of the International Drone Coalition. The parties have signed contracts for the production of hundreds of thousands of drones.
Drones are currently crucial for Ukraine, both to defend cities but also to hold the front line. That's why we made a decision earlier to invest 500 million in the drone line project, and we now turn this into contract which enable Ukrainian industry to start producing on a large scale, 600,000 drones in total. So that's massive. And in addition to that, Ukraine, of course, also needs drones and radar systems to protect their cities.
President Zelenskyy also discussed with the Dutch Prime Minister the potential for joint drone production using Ukrainian technology.
We should stand up together against Russian aggression, and we should resist and condemn the Russian aggression. And as you know, the Netherlands always supported Ukraine, and we will do so in times of war, but also in time of peace.
Drone development is also a key component of Ukraine-UK defence cooperation. According to Ukraine's defence minister, the two countries are set to begin joint drone production in the United Kingdom. This would provide Ukraine's defence industry with essential investment, while allowing the UK to benefit from Ukrainian technological expertise.
As part of this initiative, over the first 3 years of this mega project, the UK will fund the procurement of a wide range of Ukrainian drones that will be produced on British soil. This will enable UK defense firms to rapidly design and manufacture cutting-edge drones at scale. While the war continues, all production will be directed to meet the needs of Ukraine's defense forces. After the war, the drones will be shared between the UK and Ukraine. Rustem Umerov, Defense Minister of Ukraine, via the Ministry of Defense on Telegram.
Another key priority for Kyiv is strengthening its air defence systems. According to Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, new air defence equipment will soon be delivered to the Ukrainian military. President Zelenskyy, addressing the forum's plenary session, reaffirmed Ukraine's openness to collaborative defence projects, including tech sharing and joint development.
And we must lead in the drone race, both in strike drones and interceptors, and keep moving forward in producing traditional weapons, taking into account all the lessons learned in this long war. Please increase your investments in Ukraine in joint weapons production. And all the weapons we produce become part of a new, stronger European defense and security system.
Kyiv's main defence goals include joint production of weapons and the tightening of sanctions against Russia. Zelenskyy stressed that this isn't just about Russia. It also involves its allies like North Korea, Iran, and certain Chinese and other international companies that help Moscow continue its war. This is a long-term threat to Europe, the Ukrainian president warned. That's why Ukraine needs not just weapons, but investment in its defence industry, Zelenskyy concluded. Reported by Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Drop them in the comments. Stay in focus with UATV and stay safe.